Mr. Boswell, thank you for joining our program today. We know the government is now proposing to introduce the corporate rescue plan in Hong Kong. Do you think this is a good idea?
Enoch, we think it's a very positive step for Hong Kong. Hong Kong is clearly a major financial centre, but it's one of the few that doesn't have any corporate rehabilitation program. The introduction of the program will be a very positive step for Hong Kong to allow companies that are in financial distress some breathing room from its creditors to see where there's a viable core business there that can be rehabilitated and rescued, which is great for saving employment and minimising market disruption.
Overall, what do you think are the major controversies to bringing this corporate rescue plan to Hong Kong?
The proposals have been around for a long period of time. Indeed, looking back at our firm's notes, we've seen notes dating back many years looking at the proposals and what was being planned for Hong Kong. There's been two stumbling blocks around insolvent trading and around employees. Both are critical to be correct for Hong Kong so that people have a good basis to move forward on. The employees one is around how people will be remunerated and how people will be looked after if their company falls into provisional supervision. The insolvent trading one is particularly interesting because we hear people say that insolvent trading provisions will stop entrepreneurship and good risk taking, which Hong Kong's known for. We also hear directors telling us that it's important that good governance comes through in Hong Kong and that, in their view, raising the bar for directorships from insolvent trading is a positive thing for Hong Kong. So to get those two things right will be critical for the successful implementation of corporate rehabilitation in Hong Kong.
As we have the financial crisis this year, does it mean we have more companies need debt restructuring?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We expected to be extremely busy in Hong Kong this year, a sort of 25 hours a day, 8 days a week sort of thing. And to be frank, it hasn't happened like that. I think we've seen the benefit of financial stimulus packages. We've seen significant capital inflows into Hong Kong. We've seen high levels of interest in the equity markets and companies being able to refinance their debts through tapping into the equity markets, which has meant that we haven't been as busy in our restructuring business as we perhaps would have expected to be. I think the interesting question is what will we look like in 2010.
And what's the outlook next year?
It's hard to say. There's such mixed messages in the marketplace at the moment. I was speaking to a friend in the advertising industry recently, a CFO of a large company, one that I would have thought was struggling in this environment, having a record year in 2009. Speaking to a client of the firm's involved in an industry which I would have thought was relatively recession-proof. He's in a regional marketing role. Says they've never had it tougher both on sales and margins. So it's really hard to know.
According to your experience, what are the usual reasons for the companies need debt restructuring?
There's lots of reasons why companies might need to go into debt restructuring. When we're talking to our clients about this, we've got a sort of a large list of sort of 7 or 8 key reasons. But the one that always put square in the middle of any situation is management. Because what we always see is it's poor management that make bad decisions around new products, around working capital management, make bad decisions about acquisitions, and then not reacting to it, not facing up to the issues that are often quite obvious, that doesn't allow for people to be placed into some sort of restructuring process early. In our view, that early identification and quick assessment of any underlying viability is absolutely fundamental in a successful restructuring.
That's really interesting indeed. Thank you very much for joining our program today.
My pleasure.